May old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. Happy New Year! Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you here. It's 2025. It's too early to drink this, so I'm gonna put this over here. I was checking my YouTube stats just the other day, and I realized I have 150 subscribers. Huge surprise. Happy New Year surprise to me. Thank you so much if you've subscribed. But if you're new to my channel, my name is Kayla, and my company name is Endless Yarn Spool, which is also the name of this channel, which you already know. I specialize in making one-size-fits-all crochet steering wheel covers, making written designs for those covers, and now making YouTube tutorials on how to make those designs. If you are interested in supporting my little small business, I have an Etsy shop, and I'll leave that link in the description for you. If you're interested in purchasing the written pattern for the steering wheel cover, that's available in the link in the description, and also the steering wheel cover itself is available for purchase at the same link. The steering wheel cover that we're going to be working on today is a colorwork design, so if you already have experience with crochet, you don't need to really watch a tutorial. You can skip straight to the actual pattern at this timestamp right here. So, we have successfully entered the year 2025. Congratulations, we're still here. But life, specifically for me this past year, has felt like it's moved super quickly. I know that everybody's super excited to get into a new year, but sometimes it's nice to sit back and reflect on all your accomplishments and all your memories over the past year. So, in the spirit of reflection, this past year was actually the Chinese Year of the Dragon, and I thought we could make a crochet steering wheel cover honoring that year. Now, this is a crochet colorwork design. It's a super easy pattern if this is your first time doing this, so don't get scared off. It's all done in single crochet. It's black and white, just two colors, and it's the same symbol repeated as a motif multiple times throughout the project. If you do it once, you can do it 1,000 times. So if you're a beginner, this is your chance to do something really cool for yourself without the process being too overwhelming. First, I'm going to do a very basic intro on how to read colorwork charts. Then I'm going to show you how to switch between colors. And then we'll get into the actual tutorial on how to make the dragon steering wheel cover. I also have a hack to make reading the charts much easier, so stay tuned for that. So without further ado, let's look at our colorwork chart. Okay, so this is an example of a colorwork chart, and it just so happens to be the one we're using for this pattern. All you really have to know is that the number of chains you're going to start with if you're doing your project in single crochet is one more than the number of the boxes you see down at the bottom of the chart. So for this project, you see there are 18 boxes, so we'll be starting with 19 chains. Each box counts as one single crochet, and the color of the box corresponds to the color you'll use for that stitch. The numbers at the bottom correspond to the stitch you're on, and the numbers on the sides correspond to which row you're on. So for example, row 4 has 8 pink single crochets, 4 white single crochets, and 6 pink single crochets. Simple, right? So without getting too much into it, there are two types of crochet colorwork: stranded and intarsia crochet. And the type that we're using today is called stranded. Stranded crochet looks just like this when you flip your project from the front to the back. See how you can see the strands in the back? So one of the things that I personally got confused on when I first dipped my toes into the world of colorwork crochet was which side is the right side versus which side is the wrong side. And it all depends on where the tail of your chain ends up after the first row of single crochet. And bear in mind that this pattern is for a right-handed crocheter. So I have my yarn right here, and we're gonna do 19 chains together right now. My slip knot. 1, 2, 3. 19. We do one more chain than the amount of boxes there at the bottom. So now we did 19. I chain 19 for you here, and following the pattern, we start over here on the first row on the bottom right side, where it marks the first row and the first single crochet in that row. 1, 1. So for the first row, we're working from right to left. So I'm going to do that with you right now. So the tail ends up being on the left side of your work. Whenever the tail is on the left side of your work, you're looking at the front. Whenever the tail is on the right side of your work, you're looking at the back or the wrong side. That's where all of our little floats or strands are going to be. Now, I bet you are wondering, why are some numbers listed on the right-hand side while other numbers are listed on the left-hand side? That's because when we chain one and turn our work, we're now working from left to right. So we start on the first single crochet of the second row and work toward the end of row 2. So this is the first single crochet of the second row, and that's row 2. So I'll do that for you right now. Chain 1, turn our work, so basically you keep alternating, working from right to left and left to right until the end. And the row you're working on is labeled where you're supposed to start, which really helps to remind you which way you're supposed to go. So as you can see, row 1, you're working from right to left. Row 2, working from left to right. So let's say we were working on row 11. So row 11, you'd be starting on the right-hand side. So when you count how many stitches you're doing, you do 2 pink first, then 3 white, then 3 pink, 2 white, 3 pink, 3 white, and 2 pink. You'd work from right to left. Then on the next one, you'd do the alternating one. So you'd start with 1 pink first, all these white, and then 1 pink at the very end. Now, here's that hack I was telling you about in the beginning of this video. When I read colorwork charts, my eyes cannot, for the life of me, focus on those tiny little boxes, and I always end up getting a wrong stitch count. So I literally go line by line, each line of the colorwork chart, and write down how many stitches of each color are used for that row. It makes it incredibly easier to read. And here's an example. This is actually my dragon steering wheel cover notes. I go line by line and I literally write down how many single crochets are in each row. And this makes it immensely simple to get it right. Down at the bottom, I actually wrote which side is the right side versus the wrong side because I still get confused about that. You know, I just had to put this in just for accountability purposes. I messed up. That's what it's supposed to look like. And that's what I did. Do you see a difference? So just so you know, we make mistakes too. Professional crocheters, we make mistakes too. Stupid ones. This and the colorwork chart are both available for purchase at my Etsy shop and link in description. All right, so now that you've learned how to read a basic colorwork chart, I'm going to show you how to switch colors back and forth using the stranded technique. You always change colors on the last step of doing your single crochet stitch. So just to recap how you do a single crochet stitch, push your hook through, draw up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. So where you would stop is right here. That's your very last step. You'd stop when you have 2 loops on your hook and you're about to yarn over and pull through again. So you have 2 loops on your hook, grab your other yarn, you literally drop your other yarn and you pull your new color through. So put it on your hook just like that, and then pull that color through the 2 loops. Okay? Then you drop that tail, literally just drop it back, and only work with your live yarn. We just continue from there. Go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and that's your first white stitch. Keep going. That's your second one. I'll do 3 for you. this is your third. This is your third white single crochet. So when I want to switch back to the pink, just drop that, and then I pull up the live pink yarn that I was working on before. I'm at my last step of my white single crochet here, so I'm going to yarn over and complete that last step. So now you have 3 single crochets. Okay, and then you just keep going. Now when you drop the yarn back like we did, that's called floating the yarn. If you turn your work over, you can see that it results in that stranded look that we were talking about before. So when you have the back or wrong side of your work facing you, and you want to keep your floats or your strands on the same side, how do you do that? Instead of dropping your yarn to the back, you simply pull it to the front or the side that's facing you instead. Then you pull your new yarn through the last 2 loops of your last single crochet like so, and pull the little tail end of that yarn to the side that's facing you as well. Then, to switch colors back, you do the same thing. Pull the yarn to the side that's facing you, and simply take up your other color and pull it through the last 2 loops of your last single crochet. All right, so now that we know how to read a colorwork chart and how to change colors back and forth, this is the part of the video where I do the entire pattern with you. So if you want to watch along, I'm going to go line by line, and the instructions for each row is going to be in subtext at the bottom of your screen. But before we get into it, I want to give thanks to the sponsor of this video, Endless Yarn Spool. I know, shameless plug, but I just had to show you all the other crochet designs I have available on my Etsy. My best seller is my glow-in-the-dark skull steering wheel cover, and I make them in a huge variety of different colors, as you can see here. I also never ever charge extra for custom colors or designs. I'm completely open to custom commission requests. In fact, the majority of the listings you see here actually started out as custom requests. They're high quality, all made by me, and make for great gifts and brighten up your daily commute. Okay, thank you. Now let's get started. Alright guys, so here are the things you're going to need for this project. You need some scissors, a 4.25 millimeter hook. This is the one that I've used since forever, so as you can see, it's a little bit loved. You need some elastic cord, 1 millimeter elastic cord. This brand I get from Amazon. A flexible tape measure, 2 different colors of size 4 medium weight yarn, and a plastic embroidery needle. Congrats! So you've successfully made your dragon square. So when you've completed your square, it's imperative that it's somewhere between 4 inches to 4¼ inches wide and long, and definitely no more than 4¼ inches long. So I have my flexible guy right here, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and measure. This is about 4¼ inches wide. Perfect, that's exactly where we wanna be. And then measure it so it's long, about 4¼ inches there too. So this is perfect. Now go ahead and do that 6 more times for a total of 7 squares, and then I'll be right back to show you how to stitch them together, do the border, and install the elastic banding. So we're going to be connecting these squares using a slip stitch. And the secret to making sure these squares match up perfectly is to start on the correct stitch. So as you can see, on the last row of single crochet we did, we have 18 stitches. However, when you come down to our first row of chains, right down here, we have 19 chains. So how do we make it so the squares are even when you link them together? It's easy. See this chain one we did before we turned our work? Just this one little line right here, right to the right of that last little V. That's our chain. That's going to count as our 19th stitch. That's the stitch we're going to start slip stitching into. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and this one right here, it's kind of difficult to see, but that's our 19th chain that we did. So that's gonna be the first one that we slip stitch into on the top. And then this is our chain that we're gonna start on the bottom one. And for the slip stitching part, I like to use just a smaller hook than the one that I used for my actual project. As you can see here, I'm using a 3.5mm crochet hook, and for the actual project, I used a 4.25mm hook. It just makes it a lot easier to go into those really tight stitches. Okay, so we have our 19th stitch right here. And then you're gonna go into this little chain. There you go. So once you have them together like this, you can really see each one of the stitches. So we're gonna take up our yarn, and then you basically do slip stitches all the way across. Finding which stitch to start on is actually the hardest part. This part is pretty easy. So we're gonna go ahead and take up our yarn. We're gonna pull through 2 loops, those first 2 chains. We're gonna tuck our little end piece down there so you don't get confused. And we're gonna start going into it. So it's important to get every single chain. So as you can see, I'm starting right down here, right next to that last chain that we did. And then I'm going into the back loop of that last row of single crochet on this bottom square, just the back loop only. So once I have both of those loops on the hook, I'm gonna yarn over and pull through both loops. And I'm gonna do it again for you right now. We're gonna go into the very next chain and then into the back loop of the next single crochet. And you're just gonna continue that until the very end. I'll do a couple more for you so you can see here. So then as you can see, when you lay it down flat, you have this nice, beautiful, seamless join in the middle of your squares. So I'm gonna continue that all the way until the end. Okay, so here we are on our very, very last slip stitch. And as you can see, we have our very first chain right here, and then our very last single crochet right here. So we're just gonna go into that last, and then into the back loop. Yeah, this part definitely does get a little tricky. All right, so there you go. So when you're done with that, we're gonna snip our yarn, make sure to leave kind of a long tail. Go ahead and pull through. And then you have this beautiful seamless join that lines up absolutely perfectly. Okay, so now after you've connected all your squares and woven your ends, all there's left to do now is make the border and install the elastic. Now the border is really, really easy. It's just one single crochet anywhere you can find a hole all the way around on both sides of your cover. So you can start anywhere on the cover as long as you start on the side. Go ahead and take your yarn, grab your hook, and I'm just gonna start somewhere on one of the edges. So I'm just gonna pick this one right here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up a loop, drop that little tail back, pull the yarn through. So that's gonna be kind of like your chain one. Then you're gonna go back into the same hole, pull up a loop, and do your first single crochet in that same hole that you started in. And then you're just gonna go all the way around. This does not have to be an exact science. Just put one single crochet anywhere you can find a hole, make it look as even as you possibly can, and that's your border. So once you've done your beautiful single crochet border all the way around, you're gonna be left with something that looks like this right here. So I kind of wanted to show you how you can connect the two ends without having that ugly slip stitch knot kind of like sticking out. So you're gonna go ahead and put your thread through your needle. And do you see the very first single crochet right there? You're gonna take your needle and you're gonna go under those two loops, just like that. Pull it through nice and tight. And then you're gonna go through the back loop of the single crochet you did, the very last single crochet you did. So right in there. There you go. So that way it makes it nice and even. You don't have to worry about that ugly slip knot at the end, and then you just weave it in the back. So now that we've done all that, now it's time for the elastic. It also allows you to easily change out your cover for a different crochet cover that you made if you followed one of my other tutorials. So to do this elastic part, all you have to do is weave the elastic under one of the legs of the single crochet border on the inside of your work. So you're just gonna go ahead and put in the elastic. I'm gonna get a little bit closer to the camera so you can see, and then you just thread it in on the inside under one leg, just like that. And then you just tie it off at the end. Hey, welcome to my car. Eee! Moment of truth. Okay. Okay. Yay, it fits. I'm acting like I'm surprised, like I haven't made a billion of these before, but I'm always so happy when it fits. So if you did it right, you should have to use a little bit of muscle to work the cover over your wheel. If you are still here, thank you so much for staying until the end. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you're interested in more crocheted steering wheel cover content. I have a lot of stuff coming down the pipe for 2025, so stay tuned for that. Also, again, if you'd like to patronize my shop on Etsy, it's Endless Yarn Spool, all one word, and I'll link my little shop down in the description so you can find it easier. So if you want to check that out, please feel free to do so. And if not, I'm just happy that you're here. So I really appreciate your time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and a beautiful rest of 2025. And I will see you very soon. Bye.